I just saw a dog worth $5.7 million, and that's not even the most shocking animal on this insane luxury list. Forget gold chains or luxury cars in February 2025, I witnessed something that blew every idea of luxury out of the water. I'm talking about Cadabomb Okami, a rare and breathtaking wolf dog that sold for a jaw-dropping $5.7 million, smashing the record for the most expensive dog ever bought. Standing before him with that massive frame, icy blue eyes, and thick coat, I felt like I was staring at a creature pulled straight from Norse mythology. But it wasn't just his looks that left me speechless. Okami came from an elite, ultra-selective breeding program, blending the loyalty and smarts of domestic dogs with the raw presence and wild DNA of wolves. The result? A one-of-a-kind animal with primal instincts, unmatched beauty, and a calm, controlled temperament, something only a handful of breeders in the world have ever managed to perfect. What really sent this sale into the stratosphere was how complete Okami was. His bloodline was fully traceable, his training handled by the best in the game, and every detail of his genetics certified. This isn't just a pet, it's a living symbol of rarity, power, and prestige. And the buyer? They didn't just pay for a wolf dog, they paid for the ultimate bragging rights of owning the rarest hybrid canine on Earth. Even among wolf dogs, which can already go for tens of thousands, I'd never seen one like Okami. Everything about him leaned toward the wolf-oversized paws, a powerful jaw built for the wild, and a howl that rolled through the air like it belonged deep in the forest. But here's the thing. Despite all that raw, untamed presence, he was shockingly social. One moment he'd be playing gently with people, and the next, he'd slip seamlessly into the stance of a true predator. At $5.7 million, Cadabomb Okami didn't just shatter a record, he completely redefined it. He's proof of what happens when rare genetics, world-class training, and the sheer will of deep-pocketed collectors collide. And honestly, I have a feeling this is only the start. In the high-stakes world of thoroughbred racing, I've heard some wild stories, but few shock me like the tale of Green Monkey. Back in 2006, this sleek young colt went under the hammer for a jaw-dropping $16 million, making him, at the time, the most expensive racehorse ever sold. And with bloodlines that went straight back to Northern Dancer and Secretariat, two absolute legends of the sport, everyone thought they were looking at the next unstoppable champion. I remember the hype clearly. Green Monkey had it all flawless build, a smooth, powerful gallop, and that insane breeze time at the Fatigue-Tipton sale, 9.8 seconds for one furlong. In racing terms, that's like watching a rocket launch. Buyers went crazy, and Coolmore, one of the biggest breeding empires on the planet, snapped him up for a price that made headlines everywhere. And then, the races began. Despite all the noise, Green Monkey only ran 3 times and never crossed the finish line first. His best effort? 3rd place. That's it. For a horse worth more than a fleet of Lamborghinis, the return was basically 0 on the track. In the end, he faded from the spotlight and was quietly retired, leaving behind one of the most expensive what could have been stories in racing history. But here's the twist. Green Monkey's story wasn't just about failing to win races. In the breeding game, bloodlines can be just as valuable as trophies. After he retired, I remember hearing he stood at stud in Florida, producing a small number of foals. None of them ever became stars, but that massive $16 million price tag kept his name alive, turning him into one of the most talked about what could have been cases in racing history. Over time, people stopped calling him a failure and started seeing him as something else entirely, a kind of legend. He became a living reminder of just how unpredictable elite animal investments can be, where world-class genetics, top-tier training, and sheer luck all collide. Even long after his last race, his name would pop up in conversations about the dangers of betting big in horse racing. Green Monkey passed away in 2018. But the legacy he left behind still lingers. To me, he's the horse that proved a hard truth. Even when you're holding the best-looking cards, it doesn't guarantee you'll win the game. Yes, you heard me right, $1.2 million for a single cow. Not a herd, not a ranch, just one incredible animal. Her name was Eastside Louisdale Gold Missy, but everyone simply called her Miss Missy. She was a Holstein dairy cow from Canada, and she completely flipped the livestock world on its head. She didn't win races or pull plows, but she had something far more valuable: perfect genetics. Miss Missy was born into greatness. Her family tree was packed with show champions and top-producing dairy stars. But what really made her stand out was her flawless body structure, sky-high milk production stats, and unmatched breeding potential. I still remember when, in 2009, she went up for auction and sold for $1.2 million, the highest price ever paid for a cow at that time. So what makes a cow worth that kind of money? It all comes down to what she can pass on. Breeders hunt for very specific traits: udder shape, bone structure, fertility, even temperament, and Miss Missy had them all. She wasn't just a trophy winner at agricultural shows, she was a walking genetics goldmine. Her embryos alone sold for thousands, and her daughters carried on her legacy, often going for six-figure prices themselves. She didn't just make waves in the farming world, Miss Missy became a full-on media sensation. I remember seeing photos of her glossy black and white coat and powerful frames splashed across farming magazines, and even popping up in mainstream news. She was basically the Beyoncé of dairy cows, flawless, famous, and genetically unmatched. In the years that followed, she didn't slow down one bit. Miss Missy kept dominating livestock competitions and producing top-tier offspring. She became the gold standard the cow every Holstein breeder compared their animals to. And here's the part that still blows my mind: she wasn't cloned. She wasn't genetically modified. Her value came entirely from generations of careful, selective breeding. Miss Missy proved that in agriculture, perfection isn't just a nice title. It's a multi-million-dollar asset. Some people buy dogs. Me? I've seen people go a step further, they recreate them. That's exactly what happened with Sir Lancelot Encore, the world's first commercially cloned dog, brought to life in 2009 for a mind-blowing $155,000. And no, this wasn't some top-secret lab experiment tucked away from the world. This was a real family pet, a Labrador Retriever brought back through cutting-edge biotech. It all began with a Florida couple who adored their original dog, Sir Lancelot. When he passed away, they preserved his DNA, holding on to the hope that one day science could bring him back. That day came sooner than anyone expected, thanks to a South Korean lab specializing in cloning. The result? Sir Lancelot Encore, genetically identical to the original, born from a surrogate and delivered like something straight out of Jurassic Park, meets Homeward Bound. What really makes this story wild isn't just the cloning itself, it's how quickly it kicked off a whole new luxury trend. That one decision opened the door to the pet cloning industry, where anyone with enough money could literally rewind time and bring their beloved animal back. Sir Lancelot Encore wasn't the last, but he was the trailblazer, the one that proved it could actually be done. And yes, he looked and acted almost exactly like the original. Same rich chocolate coat. Same gentle, steady eyes. Same warm, affectionate personality. It left people stunned not just on an emotional level, but on an ethical one too. But for his owners, this was a second chance at something they simply weren't ready to let go of. These days, cloning pets has become far more common among the ultra-wealthy, but Sir Lancelot Encore is still the name that pops up in interviews, articles, and documentaries as the case that started it all. He wasn't just a dog, he was a $155,000 milestone in the future of pet ownership. A living, breathing reminder that science can now blur the line between memory and reality. They look like something straight out of a fantasy film, pure white fur, striking blue or golden eyes, and that magical glow when the sunlight hits just right. But here's the thing, white lions aren't albinos. They're real lions with a rare genetic quirk called leucism, which gives them that stunning pale coat. And when they're born in captivity, especially in perfect health, a single cub can fetch up to $140,000. I first learned about them through stories from South Africa's Timbavati region, where white lions were originally found. For decades, they were so rare that they felt almost mythical, the kind of animals you'd hear whispered about, but almost never see in person. These days, breeding programs have boosted their numbers slightly, but they're still incredibly uncommon. So why the sky-high price tag? First, it's all about rarity. The white lion gene is recessive, which means it only appears if both parents carry it. Second, their beauty is absolutely mesmerizing. In the dark savanna, they seem to almost glow, and their softer features compared to golden lions have made them stars in wildlife parks, private reserves, and high-end photo safaris. And yes, collectors and wealthy zoo owners are more than willing to pay top dollar. A flawless male cub with a clean bloodline and fully documented genetics is considered a prestige animal, the kind that instantly elevates any exotic collection. I have even seen some of these white lions make appearances in commercials, music videos, and high-profile ad campaigns. But here's the twist: they're still lions. Wild, powerful, and absolutely not to be underestimated. No matter how magical they look, they need massive enclosures, expert care, and professional handling. This is not the kind of pet you could ever keep in your backyard. In African mythology, white lions are seen as symbols of balance and power, and some tribes hold them sacred. Even in modern pop culture, they're portrayed as rare, royal, and untouchable. Owning one isn't just about having an animal. It's about the image, the legacy, and the spectacle of possessing something that most people will only ever dream of seeing in real life. You might think of sheep as just fluffy, quiet farm animals meant for grazing in open fields, but Devon Vale Perfection was nothing like your average sheep. This Scottish Texel ram shocked the livestock world when he sold for an incredible $370,000, making him the most expensive sheep ever sold at the time. So why would anyone drop more than the price of a Ferrari on a sheep? One word: genetics. Devon Vale Perfection had absolutely flawless proportions, thick muscle mass, perfectly clean legs, a wide chest, and a level of symmetry that livestock judges dream about. Every inch of him was considered premium quality by farming standards. Texel sheep, originally from the Netherlands, are famous for producing lean, high-quality meat. In the UK and Scotland, top breeders will spend big on rams with strong traits to improve their entire flock's genetics. Owning a ram like Perfection means you could produce hundreds of lambs with those same winning traits, and that translates to more value, more ribbons at competitions, and much bigger profits down the road. The sale went down at an elite livestock auction, and I swear, the bidding shot up faster than a stock market rally. It got so intense that multiple buyers actually teamed up, pooling their money just to secure him. That's how fierce this game is: farmers battling for genetic dominance in a world where one animal can change the entire future of an operation. Before long, photos of Devon Vale Perfection were everywhere in farming journals, newspapers, and, of course, internet memes. Some people joked he needed a bodyguard, others just stared in disbelief. A sheep worth almost $500,000? Yes, and to serious breeders, he was worth every single cent. In the high-stakes world of elite livestock, perfection isn't just a nice word, it's a business plan. And this ram, he truly lived up to his name in every possible way. It might sound crazy, but in Japan, a beetle can be worth more than a designer watch. I'm talking about the stag beetle, a small armored insect with massive mandibles and a fan base so dedicated it turns this creature into a luxury collectible. One particular specimen, bred to absolute perfection, sold for a staggering $80,000. And no, you heard it right, $80,000 for a beetle small enough to sit in the palm of your hand. So why would anyone drop that kind of money? It all comes down to culture, rarity, and pure obsession. In Japan, beetles, especially Dorcas titanus palawanicus, the large stag beetle species, hold a special place in people's hearts. Kids grow up catching them, while adult collectors grow up paying fortunes to own the best of the best. That $80,000 beetle wasn't just any insect, it was a masterpiece. Extraordinary size, perfect symmetry, and that gleaming black armor made it the gold standard. It was carefully bred in captivity over generations to get those flawless traits, massive jaws, perfect proportions, and a smooth, unblemished shell. To the right buyer, it was no different from owning a rare coin, a championship koi fish, or a priceless piece of art. These beetles aren't just tossed in a jar, they're kept in special containers with precise temperature controls and spotless conditions. They're not really pets in the usual sense. They're living collectibles, sometimes gifted to business partners or proudly displayed like miniature trophies. Stag beetles have even made their way into anime, manga, and pop music, often as symbols of strength and rarity. And yes, Japan actually holds beetle beauty contests, complete with rankings, prizes, and serious bragging rights. Most stag beetles sell for just a few dollars, but the rarest, biggest, and most genetically perfect ones can easily hit 5 figures. It's a hidden world most people never hear about, where a creature that only lives a few years can still be worth more than a motorcycle. In Tokyo's famous Toyosu fish market, the first day of the year isn't about fireworks or champagne, it's about fish. And not just any fish, I'm talking about the bluefin tuna, a sleek ocean predator that's become a symbol of wealth and culinary prestige. I'll never forget when one of these giants went for over $3 million at auction, making it the most expensive fish ever sold. These aren't your run-of-the-mill seafood specials. Bluefin tuna can grow over 10 feet long and tip the scales at more than 1,000 pounds, with the most prized cuts coming from Japan's cold northern waters. That deep red flesh is unbelievably tender and packed with flavor perfect for the kind of high-end sushi restaurants that serve nothing but the best. So why spend millions on a single fish? A big part of it is tradition. The first auction of the year is a spectacle, a chance for restaurant owners to flex their status, grab media attention, and draw crowds. To outsiders, it might seem insane to pay that much, but for the buyer, it's also a smart business move. That record-breaking $3 million tuna was bought by Kiyoshi Kimura, the owner of a sushi chain famous for his extravagant purchases. He turned the fish into hundreds of plates of sushi, even giving many away for free, all to celebrate the occasion and dominate the headlines. Bluefin tuna are considered critically endangered in some regions, and that only adds to their mystique and their price tag. With these fish, you're not just paying for the taste, you're paying for scarcity, tradition, and prestige all wrapped into one. In the food world, bluefin have taken on an almost mythic status. They've been featured in documentaries, food shows, and even crime dramas. They're the Ferrari of the sea, sleek, powerful, and built to impress, with a price that's guaranteed to make jaws drop. If gemstones could fly, I swear they'd look just like the hyacinth macaw. This stunning parrot, draped in brilliant cobalt blue feathers with golden rings around its eyes, is the largest flying parrot in the world. And if you want one, be ready to spend around $14,000, sometimes even more, if it's a perfect specimen with a documented bloodline. Native to Brazil's Pantanal and parts of Bolivia and Paraguay, the hyacinth macaw is rare, not just because of its beauty, but because breeding and raising them is a serious challenge. They need special diets, huge enclosures, and plenty of social interaction. These birds are not low maintenance, they're a full-time commitment. But that hasn't stopped collectors and devoted bird lovers from trying to get their hands on one. Their personalities are another part of the magic. Even though they have incredibly strong beaks powerful enough to crack a coconut, hyacinths are surprisingly gentle and affectionate with the people they trust. That rare combination of strength and sweetness makes them truly unforgettable companions. Because of deforestation and illegal trafficking, hyacinth macaw numbers plummeted over the past few decades. But now, thanks to strict protections and responsible breeding programs, their population is slowly bouncing back, and legally bred individuals have become true luxury pets. They've even had their Hollywood moment, appearing in films and animated hits like Rio, where their beauty completely stole the show. In private aviaries, they're the crown jewel, a living sculpture with a voice, a personality, and wings that catch the sunlight like polished metal. And if you ever see one up close, you'll understand instantly. That color isn't just blue, it's electric. In the world of luxury animals, there are few sights more breathtaking than a hyacinth macaw soaring through the air. High in the mountains of Tibet, where the air is thin and winters are brutally cold, one dog rules above all others, the Tibetan Mastiff. Massive, commanding, and sporting a mane that make a lion jealous, this ancient guardian once fetched an astonishing $2 million, making it one of the most expensive dogs ever. But hey, it's not just about their size, although, let's be real, they can weigh over 150 pounds and stand as tall as a small pony. These dogs were bred ages ago to protect herds, temples, and even royalty. They've got this thick fur that keeps them cozy in freezing temperatures, and their bark, it's deep, booming, and can be heard for miles, making them the perfect mountain protectors. Now, about that $2 million sale, it wasn't just for show. Back in the early 2010s, there was this crazy demand for rare, purebred Tibetan Mastiffs in China. Owning one was like driving a Lamborghini, the ultimate status symbol. The red-coated Mastiffs were the rarest, the most prized, and breeders were on a mission to produce pups that looked as regal and powerful as possible. The most famous sale was of a young Mastiff, hyped up with the phrase "lion's blood purely marketing, not science." And it came with everything from a verified certificate of lineage to a custom diet plan, and even a team of handlers around the clock. That pup was sold at a luxury pet expo, where buyers were fighting over these prestige animals like they were rare works of art. Since then, prices have cooled off a bit, but Tibetan Mastiffs still hold their place as some of the most expensive and majestic dogs on the planet. Their presence? Unforgettable, powerful, alert, and noble. Honestly, if a lion and a bear had a canine cousin, this would definitely be it. Picture your average house cat, now stretch it out, wrap it in golden fur with bold black spots, and give it the power to leap 6 feet straight up without even taking a running start. That's the Savannah cat, one of the most jaw-dropping and priciest felines in the world. The rarest, especially F1 generation hybrids, can fetch up to $20,000. The Savannah is the result of crossing a domestic cat with a serval, a wild African predator famous for its long legs, huge ears, and lightning-fast reflexes. The outcome is a sleek, exotic-looking cat that's part affectionate house pet, part miniature jungle hunter. What makes them so irresistible is their mix of brains, loyalty, and athleticism. They can be leash-trained, play fetch, and even learn commands like a dog. But they also demand lots of space, mental stimulation, and attention, definitely not a pet for the casual owner. The high price comes down to how hard they are to breed. First-generation hybrids where one parent is a full-blooded serval are the rarest and most valuable. Later generations are more domesticated and a bit more affordable, but still sell for thousands. They've become a favorite among celebrities and exotic pet enthusiasts, and it's easy to see why. With those long legs, sleek build, and striking spotted coat, Savannah cats turn heads everywhere they go. Watching one move is like seeing a cheetah in slow motion. They're often described as living art. Despite their wild roots, Savannahs can form incredibly strong bonds with their owners and be surprisingly affectionate. But don't expect them to lounge around quietly all day. These cats come with energy, personality, and a price tag that makes it clear this is no ordinary house pet. It doesn't swim fast, it doesn't sing. But the Triton's trumpet, a massive marine snail with a spiral shell that can grow over 2 feet long, has sold for more than $25,000 on the luxury market. Why? Because it's both breathtakingly beautiful and ecologically vital. Scientifically known as Coronia tritonus, this sea snail lives in coral reefs across the Indo-Pacific and is famous for one key reason: it eats crown-of-thorns starfish, the notorious reef destroyers. Without tritons, these starfish can multiply out of control, wreaking havoc on delicate reef systems. That alone makes this snail priceless for ocean health. Of course, collectors weren't shelling out big money for its diet. They wanted that giant, spiraling masterpiece of a shell. With its ridges and marbled bands of color, it looks like something carved by nature's own hand. In the past, these shells were even used as ceremonial instruments, especially in Polynesian cultures where blowing through them produced a deep, horn-like sound, giving the triton its trumpet name. As demand exploded, tritons were harvested heavily not just by serious collectors, but also for the tourist trade. Prices skyrocketed, with some shells going for tens of thousands depending on their size, condition, and where they came from. Eventually, governments stepped in, adding the species to protected lists and placing strict limits on exports. Today, finding one for sale legally is almost impossible. Conservation efforts now focus on protecting wild populations and keeping reef ecosystems in balance. That high price tag isn't just about having a pretty shell, it represents rarity, beauty, and ecological importance. Owning one today would be like holding a fossil from a still living world. Ancient, elegant, and almost impossible to get your hands on. If any bird deserves a spot in a rock band, it's the palm cockatoo. Jet black feathers, blazing red cheeks, and a spiky punk-style crest make it look like a rock star, but the real showstopper? It drums. Seriously. It snaps off sticks, grips them in one claw, and taps out rhythms on hollow logs to impress potential mates. And if you're thinking about owning one, be prepared they can cost up to $16,000. Native to northern Australia and Papua New Guinea, the palm cockatoo is unlike any other parrot on Earth. Its vocal range is impressive, its behavior is downright theatrical, and its presence commands attention. With a massive curved beak, it can crush the toughest nuts with ease, and that same beak is its instrument for performing those wild, one-of-a-kind drum solos in the wild. They're also incredibly smart and emotionally intense. Owners often describe them as moody, expressive, and full of personality. This is not a bird for beginners. They need massive enclosures, constant mental challenges, and plenty of human interaction to stay happy. Their price tag comes down to a mix of rarity, beauty, and personality. Palm cockatoos are slow breeders, often laying just one egg every couple of years, which keeps their numbers and availability low. Combine that with their striking looks and big, bold presence, and it's no wonder they've become prized possessions for exotic pet collectors and bird lovers who want something truly unforgettable. That's about it. Which of these animals would you buy if you had enough money? Write in the comments, and don't forget to check out my other videos.